If you've been feeling the call to write a book, it is no accident. Your book is needed in the world, so let's make it happen. I'm Nicola and this is the Unbound Writers Club. So you know you want to write your book, or you're in the process. How do you actually create a dedicated writing practice where you're showing up in a, dare I say it, consistent way for your book? I kind of hesitate to use the word consistent because I know a lot of us can resist it, the idea of being consistent, because it can bring up this sense that like we have to be showing up in this really like rigid, restrictive way, that there's this pressure on us, and I want to like unbind us from that straight away. That's why I use the word kind of a dedicated writing practice, because it feels a bit freer. You could substitute it for the word devotional. But actually, I have come to make peace a little bit with the word consistent over the past few months, year or so. It's like, I don't know, this could actually be okay. Because when we don't see it in a really rigid way, when we know that you don't either have to be consistent or in alignment with the cyclical being you are, because this is a key piece of the Unbound writing approach. We get to write in alignment with our cyclical nature, acknowledging that we ebb and flow. Like you can ebb and flow and create consistently. It's not about showing up every day in the same way. Like that is not the vibe. And if we have that expectation, like you may be able to do that at the beginning of your book writing journey when you're feeling really inspired, motivated. It's like, yes, this is happening, but that will drop off pretty quickly unless you're a robot. I don't think you are a robot if you're listening to this. We are cyclical beings. We are influenced by so many different cycles in our lives. Like the cycle of the moon, the cycle of the seasons, your menstrual cycle if you have one. And just each day, our energy ebbs and flows. And the creative process itself is cyclical. Like we go through different stages in the creative cycle. There are times when we feel really lit up, inspired, focused. And there are times when the most powerful thing we can do is to allow ourselves to be in the void, the fertile void. It's an incredibly fertile place when we allow ourselves to be there. So when I talk about creating a dedicated writing practice, I am not talking about showing up every single day for a certain amount of time and placing that expectation, that pressure on yourself. But what can be supportive is creating times in your process where you commit to writing regularly, like having regular, I hesitate to use this phrase, but I'm going to use it, regular writing sprints. You can substitute the word sprint for saunter, stroll, spurt, regular writing spurts. And what I mean by that is an amount of time. It could be a week. It could be 21 days. It could be a month where you go, okay, I am going to show up for my writing every day for this period of time. When I say every day, it may be that you decide to write like Monday to Friday. During this short period of time, and you get to decide what short is, you are dedicating yourself to writing every day. Now, when I say every day, it only has to be a short amount of time. In the Unbound Writers Club membership, we have these kind of writing sprints every other month. And the invitation is to write every day for a certain amount of time. Sometimes it's 21 days, sometimes it's a month. But the guideline is that, like, even if it's just for 5 minutes, like start with 5 minutes. You may write for more, but we're not saying, oh, I'm going to show up for my writing every day for an hour. or 30 minutes even. Like the hope, obviously, is that some days you will write more. But what we're doing here is creating a dedicated writing practice. It's not about like reaching a set amount of time. It's not about proving anything. It's just about showing up in a dedicated way for your book. And sometimes that may be just 5 minutes. You can still create a lot of momentum that way. And the beauty of this is that rather than kind of thinking, oh my goodness, I'm writing this book, so I need to be writing every day, otherwise I'm failing. And then you get to a point where you don't write, and then it's like, oh, okay, I might as well give up then. You invoke the power, like I say, of these regular writing sprints. So it may be once a month you decide to write every day for a week. And anything else that happens outside of it, amazing. And you can choose a week where, you are feeling more inspired, or maybe you have a bit more space. Maybe, like we do in the Unbound Writers Club membership, like every other month or so, or even like once a season, once a quarter, you go, okay, for this month, I'm going to be really focused. I'm going to show up for my writing every day. It's building the muscle of you as a writer, showing your book that you are dedicated to it without having to be rigid. And a power question or reframe that I want to give you is when you are in one of your writing sprints, saunters, spurts, rather than asking the question, like, am I going to write today? Will I write today? I'm not sure. Have I got time? You are instead ask the question, when am I going to write today? So even if you have a busy day, you are looking for that like 5 minutes of time where you could show up for your writing. It might be when you're like in the waiting room for, the dentist. Like if you're traveling, it might be when you're checked in at the airport and you're sat having a cup of coffee. It might be when you're in the car waiting to pick the kids up from school. You're just carving out 5 minutes at least of time for your writing. When am I going to write today? Not am I going to write today? When am I going to write today? So invoking the power of regular writing sprints is a really great way of creating a dedicated writing practice that is consistent, there is an energy of consistency, but it also allows and aligns with your cyclical nature. You know what I'm going to say. The invitation, now that you've listened to this episode, is to carve out some time for your writing today, even if it's just 5 minutes, and maybe schedule in your next writing sprint. If you want to do that in community, do come and join us over in the Unbound Writers Club membership. It's only £7 a month. You can join, you can cancel anytime. It's Unbound. You can find the details for that at unboundwriting.co/the-unbound-writers-club. I'd love to see you over there.